Hey everyone, welcome to Aerobic AF. I'm Ken.
And I'm Quinlan. This is HYROX Happy Hour, where we cover all things HYROX, race recaps, training takeaways, and the latest from the world of hybrid racing.
Grab your favorite drink and let's get into it. All right, welcome back. This is our second take on HYROX Happy Hour. We're going to be reviewing your race queue, a little bit more specifically, the race that you just had in Houston, and then getting into some of the HYROX announcements that dropped at the end of last week, including new rules about athlete challenges and their announcement about a new Division 1 style of racing that's just under the Elite 15 that they will be launching next year. But let's start off first with the recap of your race that you just got back from in Houston.
Yep, I've got my beer ready, drinking Great Lakes Brewery IPA today. One of our favorites. Octopus Wants to Fight. Feels very fitting.
I also have a GLB product, the Canuck Pale Ale. So, cheers.
Cheers. Okay. Yeah, we're big brewery or
Great Lakes fans.
Yeah,
Great Lakes
fans.
Enthusiasts.
Houston, yes. So I signed up for this race 2 weeks before race day, and I think there were a few reasons why I felt called to run this race. The main one was that I was hoping to get a top 10 finish, not necessarily a personal best, but just that placement and get some more points since I purchased the elite or the athlete card. And even though this was not like my A race or goal race of the season, I felt like if anything, I could still run a 106 or even 107, and that would put me in contention for a top 10 finish. And I'd call it a day, get another race under my belt, and go on my way. But it ended up being not that. I think I came 30th overall, 7th age group. So this is actually the first HYROX race I've had where I have not won a flag outside of World Championships last year.
Which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah, I'm realizing.
By the way.
Yeah, definitely. Although a different race experience, it puts into perspective just how strong my HYROX races have been kind of leading up to this point. But yeah, maybe I'll just start right at the beginning. I felt like I tapered properly for the race. Like on race day morning, I felt energized and really ready to have a strong race. There was no part of me that thought it was going to be anything other than what I've done before. I felt like my fueling was really good. I was actually being much more strict with myself on the types of foods I was eating kind of in the 48 hours leading up to the race. I had a really great race day fueling plan. I took like beetroot powder, which is something I used to do in my running races years ago.
Charlie Botterill, I think, is big on the beetroot powder
Yes.
as well. Elite 15 athlete on the men's side.
Yeah, it can help with just your oxygenated blood in general, which, as we know, is helpful to reduce your time to fatigue. So every little bit helps. And then I also took bicarb, which I've taken before for, again, running races, but not specifically in HYROX. And for those who don't know, what bicarb does is it neutralizes the lactic acid buildup in your muscles, which happens constantly in HYROX races, but also in like 5Ks, 10Ks. I think the half and the marathon is like, it might help, but it's a bit, less. So shout out to those products, Morton gels as well. They were really great. I felt, again, ready to roll. So, we could just kind of roll into, I guess, the start of the race.
Yeah, the floor is yours. I'll kind of interject here at times, but I feel like this is your race, your story. So tell it in the way that feels true to yourself.
Control the narrative here. So
this is our spin doctor operation where we can control the narrative before the story gets out.
Yeah, exactly. In the starting tunnel, I did feel a little intimidated by the women in the field. It was quite a strong group, and, that can be good and bad. I think at times it can lead to not running your own race because you go out too hard trying to keep up. And then other times it can just feel like they kind of pull you along to a faster time. So my goal was not to get caught up in other people's races. And I do feel like I held true to that, at least in the first few stations. So I came out right off the jump and had a very strong first lap, was kind of up there in the mix, and then I really felt good on the ski. This was something that I felt was actually one of my weaker stations because I didn't have great form. I knew my technique needed work. So that's something that I've really prioritized in the last few months is my ski erg technique. And it paid off because I felt like I was giving a very similar, if not the same effort as I have previously. And I was going not crazy faster, but fast enough that I was not falling behind at that point in the race, but I also wasn't fully exhausting myself either. So really happy with my execution on that. And honestly, in that moment, I was like, damn, this might go really well for me today. I was feeling pretty good about it, honestly.
Yeah, and that's a station that you have put in a lot of work on specifically.
A lot.
Where we've been working on technique, we've been working on pacing, we've been working on different damper settings to really make that feel a lot lower on the RPE scale for you so you can feel way fresher throughout the rest of the race. Because it can really, we've talked about this before, the first station, the ski erg, can be a pacing nightmare for a lot of athletes. It really can be a trap.
Absolutely. So I was feeling really confident.
Which is fantastic. I was also feeling confident, by the way, watching your first run and then watching your ski erg. I was streaming the results on the HYROX app while I was doing my bike workout, my bike ERG. And I was like, wow, this is looking great.
Providing entertainment for you in bike prison. I think my split was 4:38, and previously my times were closer to 4:45, 4:55 in that range. And so again, it was not a significant amount of time shaved, but it was those kind of 10 seconds can make a pretty big difference in a gap that can be established. And
also
again,
the RPE difference.
Yes.
It's if you're coming off feeling fresher and you're shaving about 7 or 8 seconds, that's a huge W.
Yes. I felt like my second run was the same pace. It was a bit of a shorter lap. And so I think it did work out to be the same pace as lap 1. And again, just felt pretty automatic. When I got to the sled push, it felt hard. I don't think it was crazy hard like some people experience, but when I looked back at the splits, it was 30 seconds slower than what every other sled push I've had. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay, that is not right. 1, I was feeling strong. 2, I know that I didn't lose that much strength in 3 months. That's arguably your
best station.
Yeah, I feel so good about sled push. And typically I'm around a 250, give or take a couple seconds for that station. And again, it feels very manageable. And so to come out of that station, I remember feeling more fatigued. But again, I just thought, I don't know, maybe it's just not my day strength-wise, and I'll hopefully make up a bit of time on this run. And then again on sled pull, I for sure slowed down on that run after the sled push by about 10 seconds.
Yeah, not crazy. Your split between run 2 and run 3 was a 341 versus a 352.
Yeah.
So that's still pretty good pacing, I would say.
Yeah. I think what didn't help was the fact that when I lapped my watch, I looked down and it said 4:35. And with my race brain not thinking clearly, I thought that was the time it took for me to run the lap, not cluing in that was actually what my GPS thought my pace was And we know indoor venue, don't go off your GPS at all. So I was thinking
do not
that
trust the smartwatch inside.
I thought that I went
It's
from
gaslighting you.
I thought I went from like a 340 to
a 4:30.
another minute, and I was like,
That
"Oh my
feels so
god!"
bad, especially when you're also feeling like you're running way faster than that. To see that time would be devastating.
I truly thought I was like, "Oh god, what has happened?" Like that push might have really derailed my race. Like this, surely I'm not running 4:30, but. Anyways, I get to sled pull, and I was like, oh my god, this thing is like mud. I felt like I used all of my strength to pull that sled, and after getting halfway through, I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, this is obviously a bad lane, and I hate to use that as an excuse, but I can't.
It happens.
Yeah, and I'm
when
like...
you get one... Like, a lot of people don't understand this, but then it's like when you do get a bad lane, you know it. And sometimes, especially on the pull, it can be so devastating.
It was really devastating. And so that was upsetting. And looking back at my kind of splits on the sled pull, that has been a little bit more variable than sled push. But in Toronto, it was a 4:04. In Vancouver, it was a 4:25. And here it was a 4:47. So
I think a general rule of thumb is your sled pull should be about a minute slower than your sled push. Or there or around is kind of where you want to be. So for you, if you were doing a 250, if you were doing a 250 sled push, you would probably want your sled pull to be around 3:54 minutes.
Yeah, which is what it typically ends up being. So again, spending an extra 45 seconds pulling this sled that you're putting so much energy behind was very demoralizing. And I have not had like a
lane that bad.
Yeah.
Or a lane that felt that bad.
And to feel that so early on in the race.
After your 4:30 run.
After my 4:30 run, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm going to have to slow down.
Didn't exist.
I'm like, I guess I'm going to have to readjust and slow down my running because obviously this is really going sideways now. And, you know, I've talked about this before, but once you let those thoughts mentally take over, it can be like game over. So I was having a ton of negative thoughts swirling around, and it was difficult not to feed them because I felt so exhausted and kind of vulnerable and a bit unsure of how to approach the rest of the race, to be honest, because it's a really hard rest of the race. It's not like you can just cruise and, you know, finish the last 8K at a slow pace. Like, you're really putting a lot of energy into every second of this one.
And after the pull, it's like you still have
burpees.
3 of the hardest stations. You have the burpee broad jumps, the lunges, the wall balls. It's hard.
Yeah, and burpees is my hardest station. So I was like, okay, I have to readjust my running if I'm going to survive. So I did decide to slow down what I felt was 5 to 10 seconds slower. I was still under the impression for the entire race that I was running 4:30, 4:40. Turns out I was actually running like 3:55, 4 maybe at the top end pretty consistently. But again, we talk about how sometimes feedback from your GPS watch can be really negative and it can impact you mentally. So I definitely experienced that. And that's something I've never had happen to me in a HYROX race. So
I found this interesting because we've had a lot of conversations about tech and how it can screw you up in races. And one thing that I've always noticed about you is you're very methodical to make sure that you're not rolling out new things on race day.
Which is why I did not see that coming.
Yeah, and I feel like I think I remember you telling me that maybe you were tinkering around with some settings on the watch and trying to change some screens and stuff like that, and then ultimately it may have led to this erroneous screen that was putting up this statistic that's actually irrelevant that kind of threw a wrench into your system.
Yes. Yeah, and admittedly, I am still trying to figure out what the right and most optimal settings are on my watch
for this race.
Yeah. I've now come to the conclusion that all I want to see is overall time and like current lap time. I don't want to see heart rate. I don't want to see pacing. I don't want to see distance. None of that matters to me. I just want to see the time, and I want to make sure that I'm consistent on the runs. I don't need to know the pace. I know in my bones what it feels like. Obviously, in the race on Houston, I was very much gaslighting myself. So anyways, I get to burpees. I actually did okay on that station. It was a pretty normal time for me. Obviously, that's somewhere I'm looking to improve my time, so I didn't see a huge improvement there, but it was pretty consistent with my other times on that station, which is like around 4 minutes. I would love to get that to be lower, but it was not happening today.
Yeah, one step at a time.
Yeah.
It was just a hard day.
Yeah, it really turned into just don't quit because the voices were loud and I really wanted to quit. I just wanted to crawl off the course and just be like, oh, could I try this again another time? Like, this was just terrible. But I didn't do that. I kept going. I made a point to just kind of slow down. But, once you make an adjustment like that, I do think it's difficult to really press and give it your all physically. So I really didn't seem to care, though. Honestly, it was more about survival at that point for me. And I even pulled back a bit on the row. I was pulling closer to a 210, where normally I'm a pretty strict 205. Again, my splits on the row have been like 440 every single time.
One thing I did find interesting is that your burpee time was actually faster than your time in Vancouver. Like yes. That was a station that you were able to improve upon. So maybe that's also feeling okay.
Yes and no. In Vancouver, I did the knee up strategy the entire way. But in Toronto, I did step up the entire way. And then in this race, I did half and half.
Yeah.
And my time in Toronto was like just under 4 minutes. I think my time in Vancouver was like 4:15. And then this time was like a 4:04. So I actually think it was... I would
the difference in technique.
Yes, the difference in technique. And I think I would do that again where I do 50-50. And so that was great. Honestly, that's a takeaway for that, how I'm going to approach that station going forward.
And the row, it's also is kind of a negligible difference. Like you're talking about, you're talking about 352 versus a 440. 452 versus 440. It's only 12 seconds.
Yeah, but
for
it
actually
was
like a much lower probably RPE there, where you were feeling like you were actually just chilling. Probably. I
really felt like I was chilling, but again, it was just another conscious decision to save and conserve energy, and the time does add up, obviously, as we know in this race. But I think what really did me in was after the sandbag lunges, which were quite slow, by the way. I decided to get water and I drank like 5 cups of water. Such a nice girl behind the water station was just kept handing me cups being like, you're doing great. It's okay. And I was like, I want to die right now, but thank you. I think I spent like at least 20-25 seconds chugging water before heading into my final run and then wall balls. So I saw so many girls passing me, and again, I just didn't care, which is a new feeling for me. Normally, I care a lot, but again, I think since I'd already given myself permission to take my foot off the gas, there was no real coming back from that. Like, I wasn't going to just turn around and hammer 100 unbroken wall balls or something. Like, I really struggled to stay engaged, and I think I'm definitely going to take a lot of that into future races. But man, it's tough when you're out of it. I will say something that kept me very happy during the race was the fact that I had one of my best friends cheering for me, Shannon. She had the best signs, and I could hear her voice and sometimes see her. And it really made me smile. And it was also one of the reasons why I didn't quit, because I'm like, okay, Shannon drove 2.5 hours to come see me. This is her first time watching me race. Like, there's no way I'm going to just walk off after the burpees and call it a day.
No,
so,
can't do that.
And
can't
I'm
do
sure
that to Shannon.
She probably would have been so supportive of that decision regardless. But, you know, it helps having people out there that are rooting for you. And so, anyways, going back to the final station, wall balls, which, again, I recognize is somewhere that I want to improve. I've spent a lot of time the last few months doing heavier sets, kind of tacking wall balls on to the end of a workout and just trying out a few different things technique-wise, because I do really want to feel like I can attack that station at the end of the day, as it is the final, 3 to 4 minutes of the race, or 5 minutes in some cases. But when
6 minutes in some cases for me.
That your time? Well, I always try to be under 5. I want to pull that time back down to what I did in Chicago, which was around a 4:20. I believe I can do that station in 4 minutes.
That's a great time.
On a good day. I felt really good going into wall balls, and the only thing that I had against me was my mental state at the time, because there was no sense of urgency for me to get done. I think the only thing that I had in my back pocket was, I did look at my watch and I realized I could still go sub 110. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And I made it by 5 seconds, but I did 30 unbroken, which was great because, previously I've struggled to get even 10 reps when I get there. And then I moved into sets of 10, and then I did my final 20. Once I hit 80, I was like, you are not putting that thing down. Just get this over with.
Yeah.
So that felt really good. And we've kind of talked about being able to take positives away from the race. So when I reflect on this race, I can look at my individual station work and learn a lot from what worked in that strategy. And I do think that's how you get better at racing, especially this race, when it's not just executing a run, you are executing 9 different things.
And there's are adjustments that need to be made
exactly
in the moment. And I think this is actually a new respect that I have for the sport the more we've competed in it, is that you do have to adjust on the day to the course. And you do have to adjust if you get the lane that's maybe not as easy as some of the other ones. And you do have to, all these pacing adjustments add up in the end. And sometimes it can actually derail your race plan early on. So really being able to dig deep, I think, and finish strong in this circumstance, given that you had those couple speed bumps early, I think is a really strong representation of where you're at. Fitness wise, that feels like a big W.
Oh, totally.
Even though overall I know maybe the results where you were looking for, coming into the race, maybe weren't exactly in alignment, there's still definitely a lot of positives that you can take away.
I'll also say that I was stoked to see my run paces after the fact. Because I thought I was running 440s, which is basically a minute slower than my target time.
There is no way that you were running 440s.
I was so, I don't know, I had one brain cell in that race. I was not thinking super clearly. And so I realized, I'm like, okay, my running actually felt really good, all things considered. And I maybe even learned that by slowing down, I can probably press on the stations a little bit more than what I was doing in Houston. And that might lead to more gains. So again, I think there's so much to learn from just doing the race and kind of seeing what happens with different strategies, maybe unintentionally, like slowing down on the row. That probably led to me being able to execute on wall balls more because my forearms and arms weren't as dead. It's all different effects happening kind of all at once.
Yeah, and you don't think about that, the way that your technique on the ski erg will affect Station 8.
Exactly.
Or going unbroken on the farmer's carry will then by association maybe tire out your shoulders, and holding the sandbag on your shoulders on the lunges actually like depletes the same muscles that you need for the wall balls. So there's a lot of different things that you can adjust for sure. And I think I have a much greater appreciation for the sport the more I learn about it, because a lot of the adjustments are so micro.
Yes.
For example, here's a good one. I always think about the distance that I'm stepping now on the lunges. And I try to now oscillate through a pattern of 4 different stepping patterns where it's like closer step, further step, and you're switching back and forth on legs. And it just kind of mitigates the fatigue because you aren't using the muscle in the exact same pattern every single time.
Yeah.
And it allows you to actually keep your cadence a little bit higher as you're moving through that movement. And it's just those tiny little adjustments. Like, you don't think stepping 4 inches less on the lunge will make a difference, but it does when you're doing maybe 50 reps per leg over 100 meters.
Yeah, and you have to figure out what works best for you, and the only way you can do that is by racing. So, yeah, I totally agree. It's like you make these small changes and then you see how it affects the rest of the stations and the rest of the runs. So, overall, I'm really happy that I went, that I raced. It was really fun overall. And, it's only my 4th pro race, 5th HYROX in general. And so there's still so much to learn. Like, that's barely anything. I'm running or racing people who've had dozens, if not like 50 plus, 100 plus races under their belt. And so it'd be silly to compare myself to those athletes as well, which, again, we talk about comparison being the thief of joy. I think another thing that was really difficult was hearing on the loudspeaker about all the top athletes and like where they were, how they were crushing it, how they were doing in the race, and they're athletes in my heat. And I'm just like, oh God, I'm like so behind and I'm not crushing it at all. And so again, mentally, I was not dialed. I was so not engaged in the way that I typically am. And to be honest, it led to a bit of like an identity crisis or kind of existential crisis in the hours following the race, where I just thought to myself, I'm like, damn, did I lose my edge? Like, why couldn't I
find that gear?
I'm like, that gear is always available to me, like always. And something that I know I can rely on is being able to like sit in that pain and discomfort and trust in my body that I can do it. But I was not feeling that at all. So definitely a different and interesting race experience for me. I'm no longer letting it get me into like a super dark, depressive state and, not questioning all my fitness and progress I've made. But
it was a quick turnaround there. I'll give you a lot of credit for that. Although it was like the whole commute back with like the TSA stuff that's going on in the States. So we don't have to get into like the political stuff there. But I will say you were very tired, and just like by the time you got home after spending the night in the airport,
tears.
Yeah, it was hard. And I think being able to reset after all that and just kind of like understands that there are a lot of other circumstances, and now just be ready to, as we mentioned in the prior episode, re-rack for a doubles race with your new friend Lindsay.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I kind of touched on...
I'm ready for you to crush it.
Yeah, I touched on this before, but I do think when you have a bad result, or at least when I do, it makes me more motivated to, one, not make that same mistake again that led me to that place, and two, like really dial in for the next one. And so I can say pretty confidently that if I feel those voices creeping in, I am not going to let them win, because I've now seen what happens when I do. And so I do think sometimes you have to go through failure to know what failure feels like. And now I'm like, all right, I'm not playing that game. Like, I'm not interested. Yeah. I'm going to go back to playing my other game.
And it happens to the best of us. I mean, one thing I've always been so impressed by by you as an athlete is how consistently you're able to show up and basically like finish top 5, top 10 or podium. It's actually kind of crazy. And I don't think that you realize actually how insane it is that you just do this in all these different disciplines. But I was thinking about, I was actually talking to my friend Max today about it at lunch. I was like, let's take a look at like the last 10 races that Quinlan did. I was like, well, it's like you came off the Chicago World Championships, which is obviously your first pro race. Great result there. I think you came in like 35th overall. Amazing debut at Worlds for your first time in a pro field. I was like, you then moved into the Bimbo 10K. Oh, the Rev and Run too. The Rev and Run 5K.
5K.
You PR'd your 5K, so I didn't even include that. You did the Bimbo 10K in Mexico City, which was at elevation. So your time was a little bit slower, which you're feeling bad about. But I think you also came in top 5 for females at that race. So another great result. You then moved into HYROX Toronto, where you qualified for World Championships in 2 divisions, in both the pro women's division with a 3rd place overall age group in the roll down, and then also won the race outright in mixed doubles with Jessie Bruce. Another fantastic result. You then went on to PR your half marathon at the Toronto Waterfront half. Another amazing, and I think you came in, like we talked about this on the other pod,
13th or something
13th,
overall.
top 15 of a very large field. There was like 4,000 people or something running the half. And then you followed that up with HYROX Vancouver, where you also got a PB, another podium. It was just like an insane stretch of races. A good run. Oh, also the Black Toe 10K. I forgot about that one. That was also in there. That was supposed to be a rust buster, but you also came in 5th overall for women and got like a big check with your name on it for $50. That
was awesome.
I know, that was a hilarious picture. But I think the point being is like you are such a successful athlete in all these disciplines, and you just automatically, it almost just seems like you can show up, and the expectation is for yourself, and everybody's just like, oh, like she's probably gonna finish top 5, top 10, get a podium. Like that's almost just a lock. So I actually feel like maybe this race not going according to plan is a really great reset point, just to flush out all right, I've had a bunch that have gone exceptionally well, and I do anticipate that this doubles race will probably be
I think it's going to go really well. I agree.
I'm not going to put expectations on
neither.
it. But I would be surprised if it wasn't an overall podium, like a top 3 finish. And I would also be surprised if it wasn't, if it's not an age group win, it's for sure an age group podium. And I would think on your day, you guys will be in contention for that top spot.
I agree. I think there's, I mean, I appreciate the look back.
It doesn't mean that that's going to happen like on the day. Obviously, there are a lot of things, and there's been a lot of great teams that have been showing up and with the way that they're doing the points. But I think that's what the two of you are capable of on your day if you're racing your race. And and it is helpful to look back and be like, wow, that was, for fuck's sakes, that was a hell of a run.
It was a hell of a run, and it still is. I'm still going to come back with more, but yeah, I do think perspective is helpful here. Like, obviously, this one maybe shook me a bit almost because of that reason. Like, I feel like it is part of my being to be very competitive and to execute well and to place well. And so when you have a race like this, it does call some of that into question, I think, naturally. But again, we know we learn a lot from like failure, and so I'm grateful that I get to learn from this experience. I think it also is a good reminder that part of my strength is my mental edge, and that is what gets me those podiums and those places. And it's not just like the physical talent or work being showcased, it's like how it's executed on the day and the mental fortitude of that. So I definitely have more of an appreciation for that side of myself, and I think it really made it crystal clear that that's important for my athletic performance. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to race doubles. Also really excited, I have 2 more pro solo races this year in May and June, so I do feel like I have more tools in my toolbox to execute those well, and I'm excited. I bought new shoes. I have the new HYROX pink shoes. I think that's going to help.
Those shoes look so awesome.
I'm going to have new race kit, and I'm going to be so set for success.
I have to buy a new pair of those, I think.
It's going to be hard
when we
not
go down
to.
to Miami. Yeah, everybody's got them. I don't know if I should go for those or the new Addy Zero ones, the Cole shoes. My buddy
Just
Max
try
has
both
those.
on.
They've got a little bit of an aggressive rocker, the Addy Zero ones.
I love a rocker, so that might work for me.
Yeah.
I know I love a rocker.
Investigate that because these ones look like it's pretty serious. And
I might need another pair of shoes.
I know. Stock up. Okay, are we ready to get into the other news that's been dropped
Yes.
from HYROX this week?
Because they love to keep us on their toes and drop this on us every week.
Yeah, always news updates. So this is actually, great timing for our HYROX Happy Hour. Okay, so a couple announcements. The first one is basically a rule change for the Elite 15. We expect that it might roll down eventually to general competition, but at the moment, it's for this specifically. This is coming off the heels of the Lauren Stockley and Charlie Searle, I don't want to call it disqualification,
penalty.
but
Minute penalty.
Yeah, their penalty that was assessed
Retroactively.
after the last European, Mediterranean, Africa, EM, EA, whatever the acronym is. After that major, we talked about in our last happy hour, they were basically assessed a 1 minute penalty for cutting a lane. I guess
took the win away, took the qualifier to Worlds away.
Yeah, it was
devastating to get that news after being so elated and excited.
Yes.
And I do think that this rule coming into effect now is going to protect the athlete's well-being mentally.
Okay, so before we get into why it's going to protect them, basically, so they've changed the rules now where only now unsportsmanlike conduct penalties can be reviewed post-race. Everything else is final once the race ends. So that means that Elite 15 athletes can no longer challenge missed reps. Time penalties means like wrong entry, exit. We know something about that.
I disputed that and they didn't grant it.
Judge decisions on movement standards or just and in general in-race penalties. This is also in alignment with them putting a lot of stake into their judges, and the quality of the judges is a whole different debate in itself. But I think the idea is they want to put a lot of the onus on the judges.
It's like a referee for a sport. It's not like you finish a game and then go back and go, oh, that goal actually didn't count because of this.
I love this example. Like, you would never go back and retroactively say, oh, you know what? Like, the Patriots committed pass interference on that play, and the refs missed it,
Super Bowl.
and now we're going to wipe out the 7 points, the touchdown they scored, so now they lose the game, and they don't make the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's crazy. So I think that this is actually much better adjustments.
And we don't always agree with the referees. Like, I think it's more common to disagree with a ref, right?
Of course,
in these
nobody
games.
likes refs. I think actually refereeing is one of the most thankless positions.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes you. It's like they don't like you if the call goes against you. It's like they don't like it if the call goes for you. It's like you're always going to have somebody upset at you no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's really thankless. And the players also don't like you. If you call them for penalties, it's like, or if you don't call something, it's just a thankless job.
I have heard too.
Shout out to all the referees and umpires out there.
Well, and the volunteers, because other than the Elite 15 judges, they are like the judges at these HYROX events are volunteering, and some of them are athletes as well who participate and they make a point to volunteer. I believe you get a free race entry when you volunteer, so there is an incentive. I'm not sure if you make any money when you're actually volunteering, but I do think it's a way to give back to the sport and the community and ensure that, if you have a problem with the judges, then you should try being a judge yourself.
Can I give you my take?
Sure.
This is a multi-million-dollar operation that they're running here.
Hire
judges. It should not be, the onus should not be, oh, this is an energy exchange. This isn't a yoga studio. This is a race that I'm paying $300 for. So pay the damn judges. I want some volunteer who looks like they've never done a burpee broad jump in their life telling me that my movement standard is off, okay?
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. Sometimes they're athletes, but that's my point. Pay the damn judges.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time. Like, the sport is scaling at a rate that is maybe unexpected for them. And so I would hope that some of these changes come into effect next season with, the loudness of their community speaking to how this is really, not fun for their experience and it's kind of ruining the race. So maybe we will see some changes there and hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah, and in the elite field, obviously they do have professional judges there, the quality of which obviously comes up from time to time.
Yeah.
But obviously this is a change specifically for Elite 15 races based off of some of what we've seen. And I do expect them to kind of tighten that up a little bit because there's been a lot of drama in the Elite 15 races. People pointing out Watergate, a.k.a. Cole, pouring some water on himself. It's like, yeah, maybe a general athlete can't do that, but they're allowed to do that in the Elite 15 race. Hiddy Wiersma also tossing his gel off the course. Everybody was upset about that.
The problem there is not that these athletes did those things.
It should be clarity from the sport.
Yeah,
they should release a separate Elite 15 rule saying these are the rules that these athletes need to abide by, and it should just be public knowledge so that then there's no drama.
Yeah, because
in the YouTube chat.
I didn't end up taking my gel in Houston, but I brought it with me on the course, and part of me was like, well, what do I do with the package? Like, when I'm done, I'm going to put it back in my sports bra. Like, I didn't have pockets in my shorts. And so
you just put it back in your bra and have it explode all over yourself like our friend.
Yeah.
The gel explosion.
I just think it's, again, we need more transparency and clarity. So also.
We need more garbage bins.
Yeah, garbage bins would help. But it sucks for these athletes, coming under fire for actually making no mistake at all, and they're like, what the hell, I didn't ask for this, I'm just following the rules based on the briefing that I was given before my race, and I don't need my time and my performance called into question because you don't know what those rules are.
Yeah.
So it's not on the athlete, and I think it's totally unfair that people are blowing it out of proportion when they've done nothing wrong.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's an easy fix, and I would expect the HYROX will probably address this by just releasing the technical briefing that they give the Elite 15 athletes before, just saying, this is what you're allowed to do, this is what you're not allowed to do. This is different from a regular race because we obviously can't have 8,000 athletes running around dumping water on themselves.
Oh my God, I slipped so many times on this one spot on the course. Station? No, on the run course. It was very slippery, and then there was another sticky spot too, and it happened
Maybe
then I learned. Your shoes. No, I learned to avoid that part of the course. But yeah, when I slipped the first time, I was like, oh my God. I was like, is it cement? It's terrible. So yeah, please, no one pour water on themselves at all. You're probably going to end up slipping on your own water, to be honest.
Yeah, disaster. Okay, the other big announcement is actually quite large, and it remains to be seen what this looks like. But basically, HYROX is running out a secondary division called Division 1.
D1.
D1. Okay, so my understanding of this is that HYROX is trying to address the problem now, where it used to be the Elite 15 was the Elite 15, and then there was a big gap between them and the rest of the racers. Now it seems like the competition for those 15 spots is coming down to seconds.
It's so competitive.
Yes.
And
which is great. It means the sport is growing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of athletes competing at a high level. The problem is that when you have it branded this way, that means a lot of really high quality athletes who are between basically 15 and 50 in the world get no opportunity to showcase their talents or their fitness on the big stage.
Yeah, so or in the special little grid that
on the special
with the fresh new equipment.
That's right. So basically, they're trying to mitigate this by this difference between the Elite 15, the regular pro division, and of course then just the general masses. By adding this division, what it's going to look like is, my understanding, is there will be another secondary race where they're going to allow rank 16 through 30 compete on the same grids that the elites compete on.
Yeah.
Not with the elites, it will be a separate race, and they'll have a chance to throw down their times. It will also be, from my understanding, will also be broadcasted, so that will be more content for us to consume. We'll get to see different athletes, especially I would think in the regional broadcasts with a different layer. Like you'll get to see different athletes than just seeing your Dylan Scotts or Hunter McIntyres.
Probably much more dramatic races too. Like I would assume that it'd be a lot closer and really interesting to spectate and watch. So as a fan, I'm stoked about this. As an athlete, also stoked because it gives you more of an opportunity to, kind of crack into that next level without it being very exclusive at 15 athletes. I'm excited to see how this evolves and how it's received by the public. I think this was released like a few days ago.
This is hot off the presses.
Yeah, very hot off the press. But yeah, I think this will also encourage those athletes who are between Elite 15 and like top of their age group to keep investing in the sport, which ultimately works really well for HYROX, obviously.
I think that this is a huge win. We talk about, and I have been hard on them about some of the decisions that they've made. And just to be clear, I do not like the mid-season adjustments. Yeah. But what I will say is that this change that they're going to be rolling out at the beginning of the next season, I think makes a lot of sense for their brand. It makes it more accessible. It makes more athletes have the ability to compete. More athletes potentially have the ability then, because of the visibility, to get sponsorship deals. It ultimately elevates the profile of their sports. I just think that this is a unanimously good decision of them to be more inclusive rather than exclusive as they grow.
Yeah. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And as we've pointed out as well, they set up these huge grids and then they let 30 athletes run on them.
Yeah. And
basically.
then it's done.
That's it.
For those who don't know, there are different equipment and setup for the Elite 15 athletes. They call it a grid style because I think oftentimes you're doing the same or different movements on the same grid. And this means that you might do your lunges the same place you do your burpee broad jumps. And it's all kind of mapped out a bit differently than the typical course that we have, going into race week with the different stations all spread out along the course. And so it's, I think, more efficient as well. They don't have a rock zone. The rock zone is included as part of your run. Usually not as long, yeah. It's included as part of your run, so it's the same length overall, 8.7 kilometers, but the splits are kind of cut differently. And then as we've learned, the sleds and the other equipment are newer, and so it doesn't suffer the same problems we see in the age group normal races where some sleds are very old and worn down, so these lanes are just like absolutely brutal. That is not something the Elite 15 grid experiences, and so I think it's awesome to give more athletes the opportunity to race on that course and see what they can do.
Also, shout out to the listeners if you have no idea what we're talking about, who are still listening. It's like, if you're not a HYROX super fan and you're still listening right now, I was like, big shout out to you. I think that this is a great addition for the sport. Mm-hmm. As they continue to grow, we talk a lot about how the middling athletes who are kind of on the cusp of world championships or on the cusp of the E15 are kind of also always forgotten. And this seems like a move in the right direction. I think especially for the regional championships, if they do roll this out next year, it will be very interesting because it's going to give a lot of opportunity for athletes who we've never really seen before performing on that stage. And I know that I would be glued to the television, especially like in the European region, to give another 15 athletes there a shot. You saw how competitive that championship was. It's going to be amazing, I think, for the sport, this progression, this growth.
This is going to be great. I think something I'm curious about is how the overall ranking will go. Like, will it be how you place in your heat relative to the other athletes, or will it be about your time overall? So maybe you finish third in the Elite 15 heat, but then the D1 athletes go and an athlete beats your time. Like, how does that work, I guess, in overall points and rankings and opportunities to move up from Division 1 to Elite 15? So it will be really interesting to see how that goes and, where we see kind of our favorite athletes fall among that. But yeah, I think more opportunity is good. and making the sport competitive but inclusive, all good things. And yeah, selfishly, again, as a fan, I'm excited to watch because we talk about the mental side of this sport a lot, just sport in general, but I'd have to imagine that as a woman competing in the Elite 15, you watch Lauren and Joanna go off, like take off, sprinting at the beginning of the race, and it's almost like you're just racing everyone else. And yes, some of the athletes do catch up to them at times or pass them, but very rarely. Typically, they're 1 and 2. So will we see some athletes perform better when they aren't, being, I don't want to say intimidated by other athletes, but kind of feeling like they're maybe out of it more than they are? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think it makes sense what you're saying, is that sometimes in the elite field,
you perform worse.
Yeah, and there can be, I think especially in the women's, this is especially true. Mm-hmm. There is a definitive line between the haves and the have-nots. And the haves at the moment seem to be Joanna Witchick, Lauren Weeks. I mean, it's kind of, Linda Meyer's kind of a wild card because she generally just shows up to the world. She won the world championship last year, but she generally just shows up to, like, trains for the final major specifically. So we don't really, she's qualified for that, but we haven't really seen where she's at in her fitness head to head against the other two. She basically just snuck in, qualified, and said, "See you in Stockholm. I'll be ready to go." So you feel like out of respect, you have to put her there. But then outside of that, it doesn't really feel like anybody can compete, at least at the moment. And I think that there is a lot of potential here for some of the newer athletes we've seen, Holly Archer, Saskia Millard. Like, there are people who will be knocking on the door. Even Sinead Bent, like, an amazing European championship.
Yeah. But again, it's like, how do they manage that when it's on the same course on the same day?
Yeah.
It's kind of like heat 1, heat 2. And so the way it works in track is, well, with heats, typically it's like top 3 in your heat, move on to the next race. Obviously, they're not going to make them run 2 HYROXs back to back, but it will be interesting to see how that evolves over time. Like, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm curious, and I can't wait to stream all of this next year.
Yeah, and I think that I'm excited because it does expand what we would consider the pro ranks in the sport. Mm-hmm. And it does make opportunity for, like, athletes such as ourselves. Like, I think a reasonable goal would be to try to make, like, for example, the North American Regional or the American Regional Championships, especially in doubles. It's like, I feel like the addition of a Division I definitely opens up the door for that as being accessible. As someone who I feel like I'm probably around like a low 55, high 54 doubles at the moment. Mm-hmm. It feels like that would probably be enough to qualify for a Division I, like, American championship race, which is very exciting for me as an athlete who's been kind of working towards this for quite a while, and yourself as well included in that. Is like, for the doubles or even for the singles, it's like you could definitely potentially see like
God, I'm gonna have to go back into solo racing after this.
Now we're going into a marathon build after this. Hey, that's what I was told.
Part of the identity crisis.
That's what I was told this past weekend, by the way, for the listeners.
Yeah.
I'm going to be running a marathon in October. Surprise.
Yeah, part of my identity existential crisis coming off of this race was thinking I had to go back to my roots and, really remind myself of how I built myself as an athlete in the marathon. That's still on the table, by the way. I'm not giving that one up just yet, because I do think that fitness will translate to HYROX, but
I agree. I think that actually building a big aerobic base over the summer makes a lot of sense, especially after Worlds. It's kind of, you have that little interlude before Toronto, and that's when our season kind of will begin for HYROX.
Yeah, it's only the start of the HYROX season, September, so kind of perfect timing. But yeah, again, another big drop from HYROX.
Yeah, and I think that does ultimately, if we're talking about growth, this does make the sport more watchable.
Yeah.
And it is going to reward the HYROX athletes who are competing. And I think that these are both net positive for the sport.
Yeah, because we talked about how the point-based system is going to come at a cost to athletes, especially who are not based in Europe and don't have access to the same number of races per year. So having an opportunity to get more athletes that are sponsored and have financial support to compete is ultimately just going to help them grow. And so it does feel like this is really giving back to the athletes who are investing a lot of time and energy into the sport and really want to see it not only succeed, but be around for quite some time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have too much to add outside of that. I do think that if they nail this, the sport continues the explosion of growth that it's been on its trajectory for. I guess the worst thing that happens is it just gets very confusing. As
we've said right now, even we're kind of trying to figure out what this means in a few different ways, but
it's a little bit unclear because they've just made the announcement this week, but to their credit, this is something that they're rolling out next season, so they've announced it earlier. And this is generally what we want.
The early announcement.
Yeah, let us know that this is where the sport is moving towards and so that we're going to be rolling this out next season. Great. Gives us something to be excited about, to look forward for. And this is exactly the kind of announcements that we feel they should be making. So Redemption Road, for their announcements this week, I thought both of them very net positive.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, we needed that one. Their last announcements were not received as well.
Definitely not. Definitely not. But yeah, this was fun. I'm excited for both of us. We're heading to Miami in a couple of days on Friday, and
Will
then
Smith,
we both race.
Miami.
What's that from?
Welcome to Miami.
Oh,
I know that song by Will Smith.
Maybe if you sing it.
I just did that. That will be the extent. That'll just be the extent of what's happening.
I feel like I should know this, but I'm just blanking.
All right, we're gonna look that up after this. In the meantime, though, enjoy your evenings, enjoy your afternoons,
have
enjoy
a great
your cold
Easter
beer.
Weekend.
Yeah, true. Buena
Pasqua. It's a long weekend for us Canadians. We get Friday off. What did you just said that?
Buena Pasqua. It's the
Italian.
Yeah.
Oh,
in Italian dining, you have to remember. So I always got to tell the Italians, Buena Pasqua.
Well, thank God someone knows.
Our friend Coach Dana will know what I'm talking about. She's the only Italian that's in our group.
Great. We only need one person to understand.
That's right. Happy Easter, everyone. Enjoy your weekends. Enjoy your time with your families. We'll be back next week to update our race results for Miami. And in the meantime, stay aerobic AF.